everyone, and thanks Irene and Amy for joining me live this morning. I just, before we start, want to go through just one of the instructions that I give, because it's important that to understand that instructions can be interpreted differently by everybody. So sometimes when I'm giving an instruction, it's might not make sense, but I'm doing it in a way that the most amount of people will do that thing and get the result, whereas sometimes, you know, it can be really hard to interpret what somebody means. So when we do Tadasana, so Tadasana is mountain pose, and I'm saying, you know, push your front of the hips forward or the groins forward. And the instruction that I wanted to explain is this one where we move forward. You can do it with me if you want. So when you tilt your weight forward, you might notice, these muscles here just above your knee go really firm. Thigh muscles go really firm. For me, the backs of my knees go really firm as well. Sometimes that instruction is given as pull up your kneecaps. What does that mean, to pull up my kneecaps? Now for me, if I pull up my kneecaps, I just feel like I'm tensing those muscles. They still go really, really firm. But the downside of doing it that way, I think, is that then your legs are so straight that you're kind of locking out the joint, and that makes them a little bit weaker. I mean, you can try it and you go, okay, yep, that works. And then I might bend the knees and I get the same result. But just giving that instruction, can you tilt your weight forward? It just happens organically. And I think it's much easier to give instructions where the thing that you want to happen just kind of automatically happens without having to think, oh, how do I actually do that? Anyway, that's what I wanted to explain this morning. That's just one instruction. The other thing is obviously when we're going through the class, I am giving instructions, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a head wreck. So if you get some time just to take 5 minutes or one pose or 2 or 3 poses or one vinyasa, and you practice that away from the sound of my voice and just kind of, you know, put your own thing into it, then you might get that experience of yoga, and you might find that there are some other little tweaks that are meaningful for you, and it means that you get more out of the pose or the practice. Okay, let's spend an hour and a half thinking about something else. So come down into either Baddha Konasana, if it's comfortable for you, Baddha Konasana, otherwise constructive rest position. So constructive rest position with your feet flat on your mat. Make sure that you're warm, comfortable. It's raining outside today. What else would you rather be doing? And just begin by checking in. Just notice how everything is feeling. Obviously, you're focusing on your physical body to begin with. So any stiff, sore or tense muscles, any injuries that you need to be mindful of, any special conditions, anything that could affect your practice in some way, or anything that you need to take into consideration. But also be aware of how you're feeling emotionally, mentally. I know that, you know, the stuff that's going on at the moment, you can kind of overthink, and then you're all in here and it's hard to connect with this. Okay, so you're thinking about one thing and then going through the motions doing something else. So just for this hour, see if you can be completely focused on your body, your reactions, whether it's emotional or physical in terms of sensation. And we can give hopefully the thinking brain a little bit of a rest. So we're going to do some slightly longer inhalation breaths to begin. Not too worried about the exhalation. That'll just be a very passive breath. But if you wanted to, you could put your hands on your belly. Like, it's helpful if you can just maybe notice where your pubic bone is and your navel. So between that area is your core. And ideally we always want to move our body or our limbs with that focus on the core, so everything emanates from there. So sometimes it can be helpful just to Put your hands there so you realize exactly where it is, any tension in that area. And what I'll get you to do is very gently push down on the pelvic floor. It's not bearing down, it's very, very subtle. And again, this is why sometimes doing these things on your own can be better, because you can really kind of go through and get a sense of what that feels like. So very gently pushing down, take a little sip of air in and feel the lower belly start to expand. The majority of air across the main part of the belly, so around the navel area, a little bit into the lower chest, tiny bit into the collarbone. This is 3/4 of a lungful, by the way. And when you're ready to exhale, don't push the air out. It doesn't have to sound like this, or don't want it to sound like that. Feel your abs go tight when you do it that way. I just want you to relax. I just want you to feel as if you have crawled into bed after a particularly hard day, not necessarily a day where you've done lots of computer work, but maybe a day where you've spent the day skiing or done something nice. Physically you're exhausted and you get into bed and you just allow your body to sink. That is what I want for your exhalation, that feeling of relief, allowing your body, your muscles, your bones, your soft tissues, your mind and your brain to completely relax, to surrender even into the space that your body is inhabiting. Complete the exhalation round that you're on. Bring your knees together if they're not together already, and start by pressing your toes, your heels, the soles of your feet quite firmly into your mat. Lift your pubic bone slightly, bring your chin in, and if it feels more comfortable for you, bring one knee at a time to your armpit. So toes are close, knees are wide, and then again soften, relax, release into the space that your body is inhabiting. Hold on to your shins when you're ready. Bring your knees a little bit closer but without forcing, and then we're going to create a little bit of resistance by pushing the shins into the palms and the palms into the shins, and relax. That might feel a little bit easier. So fish pose variation, Matsyasana, broaden across the upper back, press the shoulder blades down, bring the chin in, relax the belly, and then expand the tummy as you inhale. Feel like you're lifting the belly, the chest, the collarbone up towards the ceiling. So you feel the front of the body expanding and the middle of the spine moving away from the mat, and then relax, allowing the back of the body to gently sink back down. And this time, if you can, bring the arms in between the thighs and push the arms into the legs and the legs into the arms, and relax. And then take the palms to the outer knees and push the outer knees into the palms and the palms into the outer knees, and then relax, knees together, pop the arms down by the side. And this time we'll give the hips a little bit of a wiggle, so from the left to the right side. So we're checking in now and just noticing the lower part of the spine, top of the hips, what's going on there. And you can just stick to this side to side movement if this feels better for you, but if you want to, you can change it up a little bit. I'm going to start moving the lower part of my spine in a circle. So this time each of the four corners of the lower back connecting with the mat. And we'll go back opposite direction. And finishing off. So bring the knees in, giving the hips one more little wiggle. Left to right. Pop your left foot on the mat. So you're going to grip quite firmly. Right leg straight, not kicking the chair. 10 centimeters off the mat. Now if you hold your leg in this position, what happens? Front thigh muscle firm, hamstring soft. So we're going to release the hamstring a little bit just by holding our leg here. And then when you're ready, one-legged bicycles with the right leg. And let's go back opposite direction. And we're going to bring the right thigh nice and close to the chest, as close as you can comfortably. Interlink the hands around the shin. Just give it a push and then relax. Stay here if it's enough. Otherwise, flatten your left leg to the floor. Now you're going to really press that left heel down. Feel like you're trying to get the back of the left thigh to touch the floor. And we're going to do this one the same way that we did the fish pose. So that means press your shoulder blades down, lift the chest, the belly, the collarbone up. So again, you feel like you're going into a little bit of a back arch. And then relax. Allow the back of the body to sink back down. Take your fingertips towards the bottom of the mat, moving the shoulders away from the ears. And leave the head on the floor if that's what you prefer. Otherwise, expand the tummy as you breathe in, chin towards your throat, peel the upper body off the mat. And for some of you, can lift the left leg as well. So what you want is the sides of your belly nice and soft. That's what you're aiming for. And bring the left thigh to the chest. Lie back down, pop your feet down, and we're going to roll over to the left side. We're going to do some clams. Okay, so just don't want to knock the microphone over. So feet quite close, but we're lifting the right knee. We're going to do 12. So that was 1, that's 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Take the right leg straight, or you can do the same thing again, or you can do nothing and relax. We're going to do 12 like this, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep your foot active. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then we're going to bring our knees together, lower legs together, but we're just lifting the lower legs. Okay, knees on the floor, so we do 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then come carefully back into constructive rest. And you're going to notice it feels a little bit odd on the right side. So we want to even that out. Grip the mat with the right foot. Left leg is straight, 10 centimeters off the mat. We're just going to hold it there for a few seconds. This is good to strengthen the knee, but also to soften the hamstring, which preps us for the one-legged bicycles a little bit. And we'll go back opposite direction. And let's bring the left thigh nice and close to the chest. Interlink the hands around the shin. Give it a push and relax. Now, if it's enough, stay there, if that's what you did on the other side. Otherwise, flatten your right leg to the ground. So you're going to anchor your heel, press the back of the leg down, and we're going to do this the same way we did the fish pose again. So as you push the shin into the palms, press the shoulder blades into your mat and feel like you're trying to lift your belly, chest, collarbone up towards the ceiling. And relax. Let the back of the body sink back down. Take your fingertips towards the bottom of the mat, really consciously moving your shoulders away from your ears. And then expand the tummy as you breathe in. Bring the chin to the throat. Peel the upper body off the mat. And you could lift your right leg if you want to. You want to be soft and squidgy down the sides of your abs. The most problems are caused by tension. And bring the thigh back. Pop the foot on the floor and roll over to the right side. All right, so same again. We're going to do some clams. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now we're going to do the same again, or you can relax. I'm going to have to try and avoid hitting the microphone. Or you can do this version with a straighter left leg and out to the side. Are you ready? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then we're going to bring the lower legs to touch. Knees are on the floor, and we're just lifting the lower legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Back into constructive rest position carefully and check in with your hips. They should feel quite even now. So we're going to do one little sit up and then we'll come up from there. So thighs as close to the chest as you can, then take the balls of the feet towards the ceiling, fingers towards the bottom of the mat. And if you want to, just leave your head where it is. Otherwise, you expand the tummy on the in-breath, chin to chest, peel the upper body off the mat. And some of you can lift your tailbone as well. But again, check in with your abs. You want to be breathing into the belly. Now, if it's not appropriate for you to come up from here, you don't want to hurt your neck or anything else, lie back down, roll to the right side, and then you can come up to sitting and then standing in your own time. Otherwise, you can come up to sitting and possibly, maybe, and come up to standing. So I'm going to have to move a little bit because I've got really long arms. I'm going to hit the blind. So, feet hip width apart, bend the knees, push the groins forward. And you're just taking the arch out of your back, not for life, just for now, just because we're often squishing that area. So we're going to do something a little bit different for a little while, just to reverse things a bit. Round out the upper back slightly, bring the chin towards the throat, extend out through the crown of your head. And then imagine that you're stretching the mat apart with your feet. And then even though your feet might be slightly pigeon-toed, outsides of feet are parallel with mat, then you feel like you're trying to get your feet into duck feet. So duck feet, pigeon-toed, and relatively neutral. And then if we just tilt the weight forward, same thing happens that I demonstrated earlier. You feel your thigh muscles firm and the muscles around the knee engage. Relax the belly. So follow as best you can, and I will give you instructions as we go through. Try and feel the movements, because even though I'm giving you instructions, you actually really want to be able to get a sense of what those instructions mean for you, for your body. A couple more. About 10. Try and move your spine, trunk. Over to one side for 5. Back to center, 5. Other side, 5. Center. One side. Play around with it. Center. To the side. Last 5. Center. Bum stick out. 5, 12, like elbows. 'Last one, back to the beginning. 12. And the last one, back to the beginning for one more. Try and move from your belly, from your core. 5. And 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Are you ready? 12. Easier, harder, challenging. Crisscross position. Easy, harder, challenging. Check the tummy is breathing. And we're going to go into twisting half moon. Slide the right foot back, you're off the mat. Easier, harder, challenging. Check. Tummy, breathing, twisting from the navel, relaxing the face. Take the right foot back to the mat. Left foot into the corner, push the left sitting bone forward, armpit to the ear, stretch into the fingers, pubic bone to the right foot. Easier, harder, challenging. And we're going to go into a half moon pose. For those of you out there with great balance and who know the pose, go straight into it or follow me for an easier variation. So left foot to the back of the mat, lift the pubic bone, belly to the back of the mat. Simple, harder, challenging. Now, those of you who are really well balanced can go into the warrior 3 and then into the lunge. Otherwise, follow me for easier. Slide that left foot back. And then lifting the pubic bone, dropping the tailbone, coming up into the lunge. Lengthen the side ribs, push the front sitting bone forward. From here, turn your navel to the right side, right arm down, reaching into the corner. Stay there if you don't want to touch the floor, otherwise left fingertips to the inner right foot, right arm up without stretching it back. Turn your navel more to the right and squeeze the right heel as if to the left. I'm going to give you an add-on. If you don't want to do it, either stay here or go back into that side stretch. So for the add-on, palms together, and you're going to push your upper left arm into the right thigh and resist back. we're going to go back into that side stretch. A little bit of an imaginary cuddle. And then bringing your arms up. We're going to do either 3 like this, which are a bit easier, or follow me. This is harder. So this is 2, 3. Take a breath in. All the way forward. Easier, harder, challenging. And dancer's pose. Easier, harder, challenging, and tricky. From here we're going to go into the Karate Kid position. Easier, harder, challenging. Second side. So we start on the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ready? 12. Side stretching. Lift the right leg if you want to. Like you're holding onto a ball. This is the easier version. Push that sitting bone forward, harder, challenging. You want to imagine that this heel is trying to touch your left armpit. So it's not here, it's here. It's tricky. It's like a lotus pose in midair. And crisscross position. Easy, harder, challenging. Twisting half moon. So you're off the mat, left foot slides back. That's easier, harder, challenging. Belly relaxed. And take the left foot back to the mat. Right toe tip into the corner. Scoop the sitting bone forward. Lengthen into the fingers. See my armpits touching my ear. And you're gripping with this left foot, and you want to feel like your pubic bone is trying to move towards your left foot. So this is easy with your toe on the floor. That's a bit harder. That's challenging. Again, just keep checking. Is my tummy breathing? Am I tensing my face, my neck, my throat, or something else that's just draining energy and isn't helpful? Half moon pose. Follow me or go straight into it. So right toe tip to the back of the mat. Lift the pubic bone. Twist the navel back. So that's easier. I'm gripping the mat with my left foot. That's harder. And that's challenging. We're going to go from the warrior 3 into the lunge. Go do that one without following me. If you want to do the harder version, I'll show you the easier version. Belly to the front. Slide that right foot back. All right. Now, we need to lower the tailbone, lift the pubic bone, take the weight into the back foot, torso back. And that gives us a little bit more balance. Tummy breathing, remember. Turn your navel to the left, left arm down, reach if you can into the corner with the right fingertips. If you don't want to touch the floor, don't, just stay here. Otherwise, right fingertips to the inner left foot, navel turns more. Squeeze the left heel as if to the right side. Bring that left arm up carefully without overstretching. Now, you could go back to that first side stretch. You can stay here or try this second add-on. We bring the palms together and push the upper right arm into the left thigh and resist back. Side stretching again. Or maybe that's where you are. Give yourself a little bit of an imaginary cuddle. Shoulders in, arms up. Easier, harder if you want to. 2 more like that. And on this one, we take a breath in for a little bit of momentum all the way forward. Easier, harder, challenging. Go straight into dancer's pose if you want to. Otherwise, that's a simple version. Harder, challenging, and tricky. Karate Kid position. Simple, harder, challenging. Lovely. I'll come back this way. And you can just follow me with this one maybe. I won't say left and right. So this is the fancy hands position. Do your best. Okay, so rounding out the back, chin to the throat when you're ready. Stay on flat feet or come up. Maybe bend a little bit, only come down if your knees are super strong. I'm wobbly today. Swap. Same again. I should have said bring your feet a little bit closer together for this one. It is a little bit easier. Forward, come up. Stay on flat feet or come down. On your tiptoes. Swap it over. Stay on flat feet or come up. Only bend a tiny bit unless your knees are very strong. That's it, side stretching. Hike the hip. Swap it over. Twisting. Hike the hip. Lovely. Take the arms back. Push into the heels of your hands. Fingertips to the floor. Just lift your chin ever so slightly. Come up onto the balls of your feet and bend a little bit maybe. Roll your shoulders all the way in, bringing your arms forward. Squeeze your hands into a fist and stay or come up, or you can bend a little bit. Lovely. Now we're going to bring the backs of our hands together. If possible, if not, just do that one again. Shoulders down, arms back. Stay on flat feet or come up. Some of you can bend a little bit further. That's it. Swap. Lovely, shoulders in, bring the arms up. Long vinyasa. When you're ready, it's a little bit like a swimming stroke. Take your left leg back. We do 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go into that warrior 3 variation. Simple, harder, challenging. And same as before, we're going to go into a lunge. Now you can slide your foot back like I showed you before. Otherwise, into the lunge. Now remember what I showed you before, tailbone down, pubic bone up, and you're rounding out the back, arms forward, like you're riding a road bike. So elbows forward, and then imagine you're trying to get your elbows to touch, and you'll feel that stretch in your upper back. Now I want you to push into the ball of your back foot. So you're really pushing your weight back. You'll feel your hamstring muscle go nice and firm. And we're going to go into Trikonasana. So left heel to the floor, belly to the ceiling, straighten that right leg but not completely. And we're going to either have our right hand just below the knee, only go lower if you've got the flexibility. You're turning your navel to the ceiling, squeezing that right heel to the left side so your bum's not sticking out to the right side. And you can leave your hand on your hip if you want, or gently bring it up. Maybe you look up. So what you're aiming for here, in terms of alignment, is that both of your heels and the tops of your thighs, in other words, the head of the femurs, they're all in one line. You haven't got kind of something like this going on. Yeah, makes sense? Now, for those of you who like to add on, Irene, take your hand off the floor. Then you'll feel your core muscles working. Something like that. And then we're going to just let that left arm drop for the next variation. All right, so let it drop, let that shoulder soften, because tension in the shoulders makes them stiff. Let's bring the left fingertips towards the top of the mat, and then imagine you're reaching for something at the top of the cupboard. Now maybe again you can turn your belly to the ceiling, push out through the back foot, squeeze that front heel to the left side. Tricky pose. If your neck hurts, don't lift up, look down. And we don't want that front leg locked out. Keep it a little bit bent. Tricky, but you'll feel that in the left side, I'm guessing, of the hip. Drop the left arm, roll the left shoulder in, wrap it around the waist. That's it. Belly, not head, to the ceiling. This is the belly, this is the head. And warrior 2. So we're going to bend that front knee, lengthen between the fingers, look forward. But what I want you to try and do is push that front sitting bone to the front heel, squeeze that front heel to the left side so the knee is tracking nicely between the toes, and then visualize your tailbone pushing to the back heel, navel turning to the back of the mat. Relax the tummy. Are you ready? Soft shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And hug the imaginary tree. Come into YogaSphere position. If you need a break, if your legs are tired, straighten your legs. Don't do such a wide stance or a deep squat. But if you love the challenge, heels to toes, bottom bones to heels. Lean back, relax. It's stressful, isn't it, to be in a pose like this? But it's not life-threatening. So can you relax in your stressful situation, self-induced stressful situation? And then that gives you practice for life, because you can't always walk away from these things, can you? When you're ready, shoulders in, arms up, slightly out, interlink your hands, push them towards the floor, forward, rounding out the back, and up, stay on flat feet or come up onto the balls of the feet. Lower the heels, take the arms out, push again into the heels of your hands. So this is good for your lung meridian, allegedly, so you might find your nose or your nostrils feel a bit clearer. You never know. Fingertips to your ears, lean to the right, give it a push, cuddle, palms up, lean left, give it a push, cuddle, palms up, twisting, breathing in, belly right, right arm back, left arm forward, cuddles, palms up, little breath in, belly left, left arm back, right arm forward, little cuddles. Again, shoulders in, arms up. If you don't want to take your hands to the floor, just put your hands on your thighs and adjust the position of your feet so they're slightly pigeon-toed. Otherwise, hands on the floor, then adjust your feet so they're slightly pigeon-toed. Now, we don't want to lock our knees out. I'm showing you that now. We want to bend the knees, push into the outer feet, grip with the toes, and imagine we're trying to get our feet back into YogaSphere position. That stops us collapsing into the inner thighs. Now, for those of you who have this issue that some people have with pressure in your head, you could just walk your hands and look forward. You can use a block or even a chair. You're at home, you can grab a chair. Otherwise, more flexible people, if you feel comfortable with the forward bending, you can start to walk your hands between your feet and then let gravity do the rest in your upper body. Let your shoulders touch your ears, but keep pushing into the outer feet. So lower legs are strong, but your head and your neck, pretty much just as soon as I relax, my head touches the floor. But sometimes there's that resistance to relaxation, that sense that you have to be on alert for something. You're not quite sure what it is. Have to be ready. You know, fact remains is that instincts are incredible, and you know that. You're probably all drivers. You know how quickly your instincts kick in if you think someone's about to pull out or someone in front of you looks like they're about to stop. The instincts kick in very quickly. If you want to keep those instincts working, your nervous system functioning, you need to be able to relax at least some of the time. Most of the time is better. Alright, now we're going to do a little bit of a twist. Okay, so you can walk your hands forward if they're not already. Left hand is going to grab the floor, put the right hand on the belly, round out the back, moving from the navel, remember. So as you breathe in, keep your head where it is, but turn your navel to the right side. Take the right arm out without stretching it all the way back, and then use your left palm to twist your trunk to the right side. And you can look into the corner, you could look up if you want to, but for most people looking into the corner is nicer. Push into the right foot as you use your left hand to twist the navel more to the right. Lovely. Take the right hand down. Second side, pop the left hand on the belly, round out the back. Just check, is it a bit soft and squidgy in there? Because there's no movement if not. Little breath in, navel to the left. Left arm out. Right hand twists the navel more to the left, and you can just look to the corner of your mat. You can look up if you want to. I'm not going to do that, but keep using the right hand to twist and pushing into the left foot to resist. Relax, bring the left hand down. back into YogaSphere. You can do a little spring or shimmy, whatever works for you. Push your bottom forward to come up, lengthen between the fingers. And this is the lawnmower. So we go 1, 2, and 3. You can go into the hard version if you want. This is easy, harder, challenging. Into easy, harder, challenging. Foot to the floor. And I'm hoping that as you check in, you're going to feel there's a bit of lightness around this left hip compared to this right leg. Okay, are you ready? Let's try the second side, like a swimming stroke. Right leg back. Are you ready? We'll do 3. 1, 2, 3. Into warrior 3. Simple, harder, challenging. Now we're going to go into that lunge. I showed you how to do the easy version before. Do it that way if you want, or harder version, you need a bit more balance. But we're going to lift the pubic bone, drop the tailbone, bring the arms forward. See how my back is rounded, not arched. My ribs are in, they're not jutting forward. Elbows forward. Imagine they're going to touch. Feel that in your upper back. Keep breathing into the belly and then consciously push into the ball of your back foot. So you feel that hamstring, the back hamstring nice and firm. And Trikonasana. So we drop the back heel. We're turning the belly up. We're just straightening that left leg, but not too much. You see, I'm not locking it out. That's locked out. That's a little bit bent. Belly up. Maybe your hand is here. Maybe it's lower. Ribs in. Yeah. And again, just want to reiterate, you can look in the mirror maybe when you're doing this one to see, is my bum doing something like this? What we want is the tops of the thighs and the heels all in one line. And for those of you who want to work harder, hand off the floor. Feel those muscles working now, can't you? They're like a brick. Second variation, just let that right arm drop. Let that shoulder soften, give it a break. Again, you're going to bring the right arm forward softly, softly, and then once it's parallel with the floor maybe, then we imagine we're trying to reach the top of a cupboard. Again, you can take your hands off the floor, that's even harder. Belly to the ceiling. Check your deodorant. Push out through your back foot. Breathe into the abs. Focus on sensation. See, these are the things you can do in your own practice. Drop the shoulder. Roll the right shoulder in, wrap it around the waist. This is called bound Trikonasana, Baddha Trikonasana. Belly to the ceiling, not the head. And warrior 2. So bending that front leg, turning the navel to the back of the mat, lengthening between the fingers, looking towards the fingers of the front hand. So I'm consciously pushing my front sitting bone forward, my tailbone to the back heel, and I'm squeezing my front heel to the right side. I feel that in the groin there. You might feel that too. Because your knee doing something like that is often tension here in the groin. And we've all got these things going on. Soft shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. This is 5. And hug the imaginary tree. Stand back a little bit. YogaSphere. Adjust your YogaSphere if you need to. But we're going to have heels to the toes. Belly relaxed. Face, neck, throat relaxed. How long can you practice this pose and stay relaxed? Maybe this is something you could do every day and build up. Elbows back. We've got cocktail. A bit early for cocktails, but who cares? We're in lockdown. Let's go. All the way over to the right side. Shoulder in. 1, 2, and 3. Left hand. All the way over. 1, 2, and 3. Shoulders in. Arms up. holding onto the inner thighs. This is the J-Lo. Left shoulder to right heel. Right shoulder to left heel. One more each side. And again. If you don't want to take your hands to the floor, you don't have to. Just take your hands to your thighs, adjust your feet. Otherwise, in this position, I'm going to bend my knees a little bit, even though I'm quite flexible. Push into the outer feet, and imagine I'm trying to get my feet back into Gadget stand. Some of you can walk your hands forward, use a chair, block, bolster, cushion. Otherwise, again, how does it feel to relax and use gravity and the weight of your head to traction your spine, to let your shoulders roll towards your ears, just to let things soften a little bit. Now the twist we're going to do this side, doesn't matter if your hands are forward or back, I'm just going to walk around to the right hand side. So I'm going to bring my feet a little bit closer. So walk around to the right hand side, that's simple. Harder, I want you to visualize your belly button aligning with the top of your right thigh. Some of you can take your hands off the floor. Now if you want to do the tricky one I showed you last week, you're going to twist a little bit more. Take that upper left arm into the right thigh. Bring the right fingers to the floor. My feet are a little bit wide, but it's a resistance again. Oh, I can feel that in my tight little shoulders. I bet you can, Irene, if you're doing it. And back to the center. All right, let's walk it over to the left. Simple. Trickier, I want you to visualize, if you can, aligning your navel with the top of your left thigh. Some of you can take your hands off the floor into outer space. So in other words, we're not pulling those two things together. Now if you want to do that harder twist, more of a twist to the left. Upper right arm into the left leg. Left fingertips to the floor. Well, the shoulder's not quite as tight, but I still feel it. Relax. Phew. Now, Gadget stand. Scoop your bum forward, maybe lengthen between the fingers. This is the lawnmower 1, 2, and 3. Simple, harder. Oops, sorry, that's challenging. Harder somewhere in the middle. And simple, harder, challenging. All right, let's do a little bit of relaxing and fluid energy balling. So when you're doing this one, I want you to, even if you can, imagine that you don't have arms. Now if you didn't have arms, you'd have to move this trunk. And I say that because sometimes it looks a bit like this. There's nothing going on here. This bit is rigid. That's not it. I want you to feel that you're really connecting with your navel area. You see how my hips aren't even moving at the moment? Not that it's wrong, but sometimes it's a really good indication of where we need to work, or what we need to work on, if we keep the arms and the hips still. See? Otherwise, it can be a bit like this. Still nothing going on there. Make sense? The trunk is stiff. It's very difficult to have fluid movement and not put pressure on all the other joints and the muscles in the limbs. Alright, let's go back down into Uttanasana, soft version of Uttanasana. So I've got my knees bent, my shoulders relaxed again. And then we're going to come down onto our shins, if possible. If not possible, sit on a chair if you want to for this one, or another comfortable position. Actually, I'm going to go this way because I am doing left and right and it might be easier to follow me. So when we come up, hands on the abs here, what you notice is that if you push the groins forward and you lean back, front of the body goes very firm. Ideally, again, sides of the abs are relaxed. If they're not relaxed, try breathing there. It generally softens things up. So that's what you want. Otherwise, really hard to breathe if you've got this chronic tension going on in your abs. So take the arms back, stretch into the heels of the hands, fingers to the floor, lift your chin ever so slightly, roll the shoulders in. And this time, we haven't done this one before, I'll come to the front. We can squeeze the hands into fists, take them like that, all the way up. Quite challenging, isn't it? All the way out, all the way in again, other direction, like that. And then relax, give it a bit of a shake. So I've got left hand on the right, right hand on the left. Press the palms together, take the hands through. Now we're working on straightening the arms, that's the tricky bit. Keeping the palms touching. Now for those of you who can do that quite easily, then you can turn your hands anti-clockwise as well. That gives you a little bit of something else. Take it back through, swap it over. Hands through. Straighten the arms if you can, keep the palms touching, that's enough. But if you can do that quite easily, then you can try turning your hands clockwise. Oh, lovely. Let's do the thumb stretch today. I'll do it here, we'll do two together. So we take our thumbs close to the edge of the mat, and then we imagine our thumbs are doing the splits with our index fingers, and then as you push that little fleshy bit down, you're going to pull your thumbs towards the outer edges of the mat. So I'm pulling my thumbs like I'm being thumbprinted, and I can really feel that. Oh. So that part of your hand gets very tight. It's called your anatomical snuff box. I didn't name it, it wasn't me, but that's what it's called. So when you're sitting there watching Netflix sometimes, get in there and give it a really good massage. All right, now we're going to press our fingers into that mat and lift up the palms. And we're just going to press down little finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, do it again. Now when your palm, your thumb and your thumb pad go back to the floor, the first thing you might notice is that you're not unconsciously sinking into your wrist, which is what usually happens when your hands end up on the floor to do something weight bearing. And I want you to remember that even when we're not weight bearing later on, and I say, can you take your hands to press into the floor? But for now, there's a little bit of weight bearing. Take your right leg back, ribs in, left arm forward. Now, normally I would say take your left fingertips back to the floor. It's up to you. It's much harder with your left hand in this position, so you be the judge. Are you ready? We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're just going to take that thigh to the chest one last time. We're going to go into Parigasana. So you see, right foot back. Now what I want is my weight into that back foot. I'm just going to use the tips of the fingers, the left fingertips, just for balance. And this right shoulder, same as it was in Trikonasana, soft and relaxed, so I can lengthen down the side body. And then you can play around. You take the fingers off the floor, those muscles have to work harder. Or you can keep the fingers on the floor, lift the right leg. Relax and breathe into the belly. Maybe you can do both. Some days is better than others. And pop the right hand down. Okay, so we're just going to try and push that right heel a bit closer to the floor for a bit of a calf stretch. Relax, swap it over. Now we're in the right position to come into Gomukhasana, but if you don't like this pose, it doesn't work for you, kneel and stretch forward. Otherwise, take that right leg over to the left, knee on the floor, slide the left knee in behind, and maybe you can work towards bringing your bottom towards the floor. Some of you could try and squeeze your inner thighs together. That gives you a little bit more of something else. Some of you can do what I'm doing, a little bit of a side stretch maybe. Back into the cat pose. Check your hands again. Easy to slip into bad habits. Left leg back, ribs in, right arm forward. Are you ready? You can take that right hand back to the floor. Remember, don't talk about me later. When you're ready, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. But we're just going to bring that thigh to the chest. Left foot to the bottom of the mat. So I want my weight in that foot. And I'm just going to slide up onto the fingertips of my right hand. See, just for a little bit of balance. Now this left arm, let it be soft. Like that. Yeah. Oh, something crunched. Now if I lift my hand off the floor, those muscles are working. If I lift the left leg, same thing. If I take both things off the floor, both limbs off the floor, that's a really big challenge, and my core muscles have to work really hard. And bring the left hand down. So push, if you can, your left heel towards the floor. This is for a bit of a calf stretch. And then we're going to swap it over. Right heel. And again, we could come into Gomukhasana. Doesn't suit everybody. That's fine. You can kneel and stretch forward or do something of your choosing. Otherwise, left leg to the right. Knee on the floor. Right leg slides in behind. Bottom towards the floor. And you could try squeezing your thighs together. You could try a little bit of a side stretch. Lovely. Back into the cat pose. I'm going to go around this way. All right. Chaturanga. Just a reminder that I did put a little video on my YouTube page, and also I shared it on the YogaSphere Facebook page, but just a few tips to do this one if you want to go through it a little bit more slowly. So Chaturanga, you can do it from cat pose. You can come into plank if you like the challenge, but the trick is to try and keep the same shape all the way down, and often what happens is we lose it halfway. All right, so that means not ending up like that, not ending up like that. That's much harder. Okay, so we scoop the sitting bones towards the heels of the hands. Look forward. Now breathe into the belly. Shoulders over the wrists, elbows in, come down like an ironing board. Now, when you get to the floor, it might be too late, but then you exhale, you see there's no air there. Because even though you took an inhale to come into the pose, by the time you get to the floor, it's done. You've already exhaled, you know. It's just one of those things. The inhale just gives you that little bit of power, but by the time you get there, it's a kind of an organic thing. You've already exhaled. Don't need that instruction, too many instructions otherwise. So elbows forward, this is Shalabhasana. And the variation that we're doing is to try and get a little bit of movement in the upper back, okay, rather than just working on our muscles. We're going to do that in a minute. So press the belly down, lift the pubic bone slightly, pull the elbows back as if towards your hips, push the shoulders and the armpits to the floor, lift your sternum, that's your breastbone. Now I just want you to think of that really stiff bit that you may or may not have, but you probably do, in your upper back that you notice sometimes niggles if you're sitting on the computer, that one little spot. And I want you to feel as if you're very gently trying to move it in the opposite direction to the direction that it's in when it starts to ache. Alright, so it's kind of like reversing the curves a little bit. We won't be able to do that, but we can imagine that's what we're trying to do. And relax. Now I'm doing left and right stuff here, but hopefully you guys know the poses and it doesn't get too confusing because I'm not mirroring. Alright, so it's just easier than turning around. I don't think you'll be able to see. So we're taking the left knee out to the left side, we're stretching the pecs. Left hand presses firmly into the mat. None of this is this passive stuff. I'm just lying here going to sleep. Okay, save that for later. Press the left palm down. This is midnight, 3 o'clock. I want it at 1:30. See my hand? It's not this, it's that. Bend the elbow. This is my pec. Now I want to imagine I'm gluing my pec to the floor. Okay, now I'm going to look at my left hand, which is anchored into the mat, and I'm going to use my left hand as if I'm trying to unglue the glue. This is the glue. The glue's here, the super glue. I'm trying to unglue the glue, but that glue is not ungluing. And then I'm going to feel that stretch in my pec, and you can too. You don't feel this if your hands just, what am I doing? Okay, feel like you're trying to lift your chest with that left hand, and your right pec is glued to the floor. Some of you, without kicking your microphone, could take your left toe tip behind you. All right, don't overdo it if those muscles are much tighter than you thought they were. But you've got to create resistance. Just passive stretching doesn't really do much for the long term. And it's not that great for your nervous system either. Back to the first position. Right knee out. Grabbing the mat. Midnight. 9 o'clock. I'm going to go to 10:30. My hand is like this. I can promise you, even if you can't see it, bend the elbow. I want to pretend I've glued that left pec to the floor. Now I'm going to use this right hand as if I'm trying to lift my chest and unglue the glue. Yeah? Not passive, active. Breathing into the tummy. So when you're doing these postures where you're creating resistance, you don't go hold your breath. You have to do the activity, the resistance, and remind yourself, breathe into the belly, soften the face. Your life does not depend on this. Maybe you can take your right toe tip back, because tension ruins everything. Overthinking ruins everything. But feeling something, that's a little bit different. Coming back to the floor. Okay. We don't like this one, do we? But it's good for your back. Good for your back muscles. If you don't want to do it, this one will do again. You can keep your toes on the floor, maybe just do it this way. See, my knees are off the floor. Otherwise you can try the whole thing, or you can just rest. We're going to do 35. We call this swimming, don't we? Keep the chin in. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35. Lovely. So all the muscles in the back of your body are working when you do that pose. Your bum, hamstrings, all these back muscles. Okay? So it's hard, but it's useful. So we're going to go into a kneeling stretching forward position. We're going to do it via a worm. The worm is a forward bend. This is a back bend, and it's not a very good one because it's always going to squish your neck, squish your lower back. You can do the hard version of the worm. I'll take you through the easy one that is more accessible. So you see how my forearms are on the mat, but then I'm going to move my shoulders away from my ears to unhunch them. Keep my chin in. You can watch this if you want first. Then I lift my pubic bone up as if towards my chin. And then I'm going to walk my knees a bit closer and come into cat pose proper. Alright, so this rounding out my back in cat pose, this is a really nice counter for those little back arches we did. So we're going to take the knees wide if possible, big toes touching, bum to the heels. And for those of you who have issues with your neck and shoulders and your arms, you can just drop elbows to the floor. Okay? But if you don't have issues with those things, you can use your arms to traction your spine. And if you bear in mind that gravity is really hard on the spine, we're doing this practice to kind of alleviate some of the issues associated with lifestyle, everyday life. And even if we weren't sitting for a lot of the time, gravity is hard on the spine. So can you see my shoulders are close to my earlobes? Can you see that? I'm not here. Then I'm going to spread my fingers and press my fingers down into the mat. And this is very similar to what we were doing before, just after we stretched our hands. Do you remember that? And I said, I want you to pay attention to how your hands feel on the mat now, because we're going to do it later, even when we're not weight bearing. So again, what happens when we do these poses, things end up passive again, and the pose loses something. All right? But here are your hands. They're on the floor. They form part of your foundation in this pose. So spread the fingers, press all of the joints of all of your fingers down, the thumb pad. Grab the mat exactly the way you did before, as if you were doing a handstand. Bring the chin towards the throat. Now as you push the armpits down, lift the back of your body up. And you want to feel your ribs, your front ribs lift away from the mat as well. But the armpits are going to push down. And you breathe into the belly. And I really want you to get that sensation that you're lengthening all those muscles between your spinal joints. And when you breathe, it just makes it a little bit more intense. But you're not sinking your chest to the floor. I know there are some of you out there that have got your forearms on the floor, your chest on the floor. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm making this a very active pose, and it means that I'm getting really warm. My hands are warm. And I feel like I'm lengthening my spine. I'm not doing this, in other words. What's that? I don't know. Anyway, stay here if you don't want to do the down dog. Otherwise, we're going to come into the down dog, and those same principles apply. All right? Use your hands carefully. Round out your back. Take your bum maybe back towards your heels. Now maybe some of you just want to do this on the balls of your feet with your knees bent. Some of you can work on bringing the heels to the floor. It took me about 10, 15 years to be able to get my heels to the floor in this pose. I can still feel it in my calves even now. But what I want to do is the same as what I did before. I'm going to use my hands carefully without sinking into the wrists. I want to defy gravity by pushing up and away from the mat. Armpits down, look towards the navel. And then imagine I'm trying to get my belly button towards my chin. So I want to get my belly button closer to my chin. Now you can relax if you want to. You can stay here if you want to. Or maybe you take the weight to the left foot and lift your right leg. We're going to try an arm balance. But the option is Parigasana, which we've already done. It wasn't an arm balance, and you'll be able to do that one if you don't want to do the arm balance. So we're going to take the right foot over to the left side. We slide that right palm forward. Turn the toes of the back foot to the left. This is your Parigasana. You remember this one? Otherwise, you can do the wild thing pose, which looks like this. And you can make this a little bit more challenging and intense by doing a back arch version. So you have your options. Feel it. How does it feel for your body? And left heel up. Rest, or left foot to the right. Slide the left palm up, turn the back foot. Easier. Parigasana. Harder. Challenging. Back into down dog. Lovely. Drop your knees. We're going to go into a sitting position. You can follow me if it feels okay to do it this way. Otherwise, just come into sitting. Okay. Last little pose before we come down to the floor. So, this is table pose. We can do an easy version, mainly just to stretch the chest. So you have your fingertips facing towards your bottom. Push the shoulders down, lean back into your hands. Elbows towards each other. Push the armpits and the shoulders to the floor. Now this is your head, this is your chest, but we're moving from the navel. So as you breathe in, lift the belly up. Lift the chest up, lift the sternum up, but keep the shoulders down. Now for those of you who want to try the full table pose, bottom to the heels, lift up, shoulders to hips. Lovely. Come down. Roll your shoulders in, roll your shoulders out. Okay, so the last few poses we're doing on the floor, and we'll go straight into relaxation. Okay, well, that's ended up so close, it's slid all the way over there. Get warm if you need to, put a warm layer on, get a cushion, anything that you need for relaxation, have it close by so that you don't need to get up or move too far. So come into constructive rest, and when you're ready, We won't hold any of these poses for too long. So grip the mat with the left foot, right leg is straight, 10 centimeters off the mat. Let's do some one-legged bicycles. Let's go back, opposite direction. Let's go back to the first position. So we're going to bring the right leg slowly up, take it into a crisscross. That's enough. Add on if you want to by taking the left leg to the other side. Maybe, imagine you're going to touch the ceiling. Leave your head where it is or expand the tummy on the inhale, chin to chest, peel the upper body off the mat. Coming back down, we're going to go into the happy baby. So that means we're going to hug the left thigh to the side ribs, and our right leg does something like that. Or we can do the resistance version. So if you do the resistance version, it's either calf, ankle, or the outside of the right foot if you can reach it easily. And you feel like you're trying to get your thigh to the floor, but you're pushing your foot to the ceiling at the same time. Elbow forward, armpit up. Alright, so it's like you're trying to pull yourself up on a ledge. It's the same muscles. And just relax that little bit of tensioning. So there's something going on, but it doesn't feel like your life depends on it. I'm giving you an add-on for super flexy people. Otherwise, you stay here, don't overdo it. Let go of your leg if you're very flexible. You want that challenge. Take your right leg straight or straighter. Right arm on the inner right leg. Now push the leg into the arm. Push, push, push. Relax. Try again. Push. Relax. Now you can go back to that first position where you can hold your leg or maybe your big toe. I want you to relax in the position that you've ended up in, but just keep that little bit of positive tension happening. I call this attention. It means you're not overdoing it, but you're just creating enough so that your mind remain steady. You don't start thinking about other things, but also you're not stressed. Relax. Second side, pop the right foot on the mat, left leg straight, 10 centimeters off the mat. Ready? One-legged bicycles. Opposite direction. Back to the first position, slow, crisscross, relax there, or try the harder version. Take your fingers up. Leave your head where it is or expand the tummy on the inhale, chin to chest, peel the upper body off. Happy baby, we're hugging the right thigh to the side ribs. This is the happy baby. But you can do the resistance version by holding calf, ankle, or the outside of the left foot. You feel like you're going to bring your thigh to the floor, but your foot's trying to make its way to the ceiling. Elbow forward, armpit should be firm. Now I want you to relax enough of that tensioning that it doesn't feel like your life depends on it. This is only for the super flexible who need a little bit more. You're going to try and straighten that left leg a little bit without yanking it. Left arm on the inner left leg, and we push the leg into the arm and back and vice versa. Relax, try again, little push, and relax. Now you can go back to the first position where you can hold onto your leg or your big toe. I want you to soften your breath, soften your face, and create just enough of something that your mind is steady. And hug the thigh, pop the feet on the mat. Alright, so have your feet about hip width apart, neutral position. Lift the pubic bone maybe, bring the chin in, take your arms so they're on a similar plane to your thighs. Now, if you're pressing your feet into the floor and you're lifting your pubic bone, maybe that's enough. If you've done enough, just stay there. It'll be enough to keep you warm, enough to keep you focused. For those of you who would like to do the full Setu Bandhasana, be aware of the pubic bone, and as you inhale, I want you to move from the pubic bone. So pubic bone moves as if towards the chin, and ideally you're going to find that the front of the hips start to move organically as if towards the ceiling. And once your hips lift, then you squeeze your heels as if towards the midline. It's what we've been doing the whole time. Our feet slightly pigeon-toed, but we're trying to get them into a duck feet position, and engages all those little muscles in and around the groin area. Now I want you to breathe into the tummy. Exaggerate if you need to, just to try and loosen up and release some of the chronic tension that accumulates in the abs. Bring the arms down by the side, and if it's enough, you stay or come out of the pose. This next one, nice in between stiff necks, so just be cautious. We're going to shimmy onto one side, bring one arm under, do the same on the other side. So we're trying to get the shoulder blades a bit closer together. We're trying to move the shoulders towards the bottom of the mat, and we're pressing the backs of the arms down. And then we imagine we're trying to just lift the chin away from the throat slightly. Just subtle. Breathing into the and lower about a third. Release the right arm, release the left. Maintaining that idea of the pubic bone moving towards the chin. Can you keep your feet strong and roll down from your upper vertebra to your lower vertebra? I want you to imagine, if you can, that all of those joints are like a set of escalator. So all those steps move independently, even though they're part of one mechanism. And once your bottom lands, relax, constructive rest. And if it's more comfortable for you, bring one knee at a time to your armpits. Bring the arms in between the thighs, give it a push, relax. Hold on to your shins, bring your knees a little bit closer to the armpits. Create some resistance by giving it a push and then relaxing. So we're going to do fish pose to finish. Broaden across the upper back, press the shoulder blades down, bring your chin in, relax the belly. And then expand the tummy on the inhale. So feel like you're lifting your belly, your chest, your collarbone as if towards the ceiling. So the front of the body expands and the middle of the spine moves away from the mat, and then relax to allow the back of the body to sink back down. Bring your knees together, pop the arms down by the side, give it a little bit of a wiggle, and pop your feet on the mat. Now you could turn your palms up and just very gently extend into your fingers. That's easier sometimes for people who fall asleep quickly, just gives you something to focus on. Hands on the belly if you prefer, like we did at the beginning. Leave your feet where they are or shimmy them out, let your knees drop together. Some of you, if you're comfortable in Baddha Konasana, you can come into Baddha Konasana. Or you could even pop your feet up over your couch or your bed or wherever you are in your house doing this practice. So I'm going to take you through just a few rounds of breathing exercise for Loma Krama, and you might remember last week we incorporated Ujjayi breathing into this, so you can do that this week. Just to remind you, Ujjayi breathing is, Ujjayi means powerful, and it's a really nice way to warm up and nourish your tissues. And it's very calming because you slow down your breathing when you're doing Ujjayi breathing. So you want to imagine when you're practicing Ujjayi breathing, your mouth is always closed. You're always kind of breathing through your nose, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. But you imagine you're about to sip the air through a straw. So if I was about to sip the air through a straw, but my mouth was closed, I would end up with a little hissing sound like this. That's loud. Yours doesn't need to be loud. You're the only person that needs to be able to hear it. It's very subtle. Most things are in yoga, but when we learn something, we're always over-exaggerate it, and then we can peel it all back. So it's super subtle. Okay, So nothing is right or wrong, but except that in the beginning you might overdo it, that's okay, but what we're aiming for is that we get these amazing results, and it's very, very subtle. Exhalation can be the same. You imagine you're just trying to blow the air through a straw, but your mouth is closed, or you can imagine that you're humming silently. Okay? Either way, don't get too hung up on everything being perfect. Viloma is where we're going to take a normal inhalation. So I always call that 3/4 of a lungful. That's a full inhale. And we exhale in 3 even stages. All right, we're just working with the exhale. You can do Viloma on the inhale, but we're just working on the exhale. Okay? We worked with the inhale earlier. So inhale normally, exhale 3 even stages. And I just want to remind you of what I was talking about earlier on in the class. Someone can give you a set of instructions. You know, if you've learnt to ski or swim or whatever, people can give you those techniques. But your body, how you feel, your experience, this is something completely unique. Okay, so when you're taking on instructions that relate to your physical body, how you breathe, in the beginning, yes, you might perform, but over time, it's another reason why we do the same sequence over and over again. Over time, I'm hopeful that you let go a little bit of, okay, ticking all those boxes, and you feel it a little bit more. Okay, you're letting go of some of the instructions, and it's just rolling out a little bit more organically, and you're allowing yourself to feel it and experience it in your own unique way. You might notice there are other things, other little tweaks I haven't mentioned, but you notice, oh, if I do this, this makes this feel much stronger, or feels better for me. It's not wrong. It's getting to know your own personal body. It's learning to understand mechanisms. If you wanted to do a little bit more of that breathing, you might want to stop or pause this recording now. Otherwise, we're going to go into complete rest. And if you need to adjust your position for complete rest, just see if you can do that as quickly and as unfussily as possible. I want you to just let go now of any sense of controlling your breathing or anything else. But what I do want you to try and focus on for the next few minutes is this idea of complete softness in your body. So again, a reminder that through the practice I've been saying tension ruins everything, and it does. but there's positive tension, I call it attention. And then there's this tension that just creeps in, this kind of idea that if we grit our teeth, it's going to make something else a little bit easier. And it's challenging to completely surrender into that idea of complete softness, that complete release. But I want you to really focus on that idea. And when that resistance pops in some form, whether it's a thought that maybe once upon a time you wouldn't have noticed, you'd have just experienced that thought as a feeling of tension. And maybe now you're getting better at holding on to some of these things as they pop in. I just want you to be aware of that tendency to create tension unconsciously in your body or in your brain, in your mind. You need to be aware of how these random thoughts, conscious, unconscious thoughts, create tension in your body. And just see if for the next few minutes you can give your thoughts very little energy, acknowledge them, honour their presence, but just let them be, let them sit there, let them hover. Just always focusing your attention back into your soft, relaxed body. Again, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do a longer relaxation. You can switch me off, mute me, pause. But I'm going to take you through the last part of the practice. So just allow any tension that has crept in to completely soften and release. And pay attention to those parts of your body that are often tense without us even realizing. So let the tongue be soft in the mouth, let the throat relax, the neck, the shoulders, that space between the shoulder blades, the skin on your face, the space behind the eyes. Allow the belly, hip flexors, the pelvic floor, the buttocks and the big muscles in the lower back to completely relax. Be aware of the arms, the legs, the hands, the feet, the fingers, the toes. Let the head and the neck soften in its entirety, the trunk of the body, the limbs. Just let the whole body be completely soft. So we're going to finish off with slightly longer inhalation, which we'll do as a visualization. So be aware of each part of your body that we're bringing the breath into. Be aware of any physical or emotional sensations associated with that particular area. You can always come back to it later. So just start by focusing on the lowest part of the belly, so the pelvic floor, pubic abdomen. Just feel as if you're taking a little sip of air into the lower belly. Just sense that whole area becoming warm and feeling spacious and feeling nourished. And then follow the breath into the main part of your belly, so across the navel area. Just feeling the navel lifting away from the spine and visualizing the whole of the digestive system, the nerves that surround all of those important organs, the enteric nervous system, the feeling brain, Just remind yourself this area is governed by the relaxation response, hence rest and digest. So if you can, just sense this whole area feeling warm, feeling free, and feeling nourished. Follow the breath into the chest. Just feel the ribs lifting slightly out of the waist, and this time visualize your heart, your lungs, and the circulatory system. And imagine these things, if you can, working together to move the blood, the energy, and the information around the body through a system of tunnels and channels without impediment, to bring oxygen into all of the trillions of cells that make up who we are. Bring your attention to the throat, and if the throat is tense, just allow the throat to soften, and then follow your breath through the throat to the crown of the head, just pausing to observe for a moment sensation at the crown of your head. And when you're ready to exhale, just see if you can follow that, not just as a feeling of softness and release in your muscles and your bones, but also with a sense of acceptance, a sense of presence, a sense of allowing. So just for the moment at least, consider that everything is in its place, everything is as it should be. And follow that idea, that thought, that exhalation, if you can, down the back of your head, your neck, the upper back, across the shoulders, the middle back, the lower back, across the top of your pelvis, the buttocks and the tailbone, and then down through each of your legs and the heels, and out through the tips of each of your toes. And in your own time, you can give your fingers and your toes a bit of a wiggle. You can squeeze your eyes and your eyelids together. You can bring your arms up above your head and give your whole body one last big stretch between your fingers and your toes. And you can either lift up your right knee and roll yourself gently to the left side, or you can bring up both knees, give yourself a little bit of a rock, and then roll yourself gently. I should have said right side, shouldn't I? Stay there for as long as you need to. Namaste, everybody. Have a great day.